So let's talk about what's happening in LA. If a criminal let's say a criminal rapes someone or murders someone and they get out on parole, the victim or the next of kin used to be notified. But as of Tuesday, that has been repealed. The DA, the progressive Gascon, his office told the prosecutors in that area on Tuesday that that long-held policy was going to be repealed. They say it's not appropriate. This was a quote from the DA's office. After consulting with victim experts, we do not believe this is a trauma-informed approach. Contacting victims and their next of kin can be triggering, especially if they do not welcome the intrusion.
Okay, so the policy was that if you've been affected by crime in Los Angeles or in that county, if the person who committed that crime was up for their parole hearing, the family or next of kin would be notified. It may be difficult that that's happening, but most people would want to know if the perpetrator was facing the opportunity to get out.
To be free, right.
Now Gascon is saying, no, it triggers the families and it takes up staff that we don't have.
I'll tell you what's happening. He doesn't want you to know. He doesn't want the public to know when he's letting people out.
That's exactly right. That's the reality of
They can be pretty bad criminals that he's letting out on the streets.
So here's the quote. According to this email, the DA feels it's not appropriate for prosecutors to notify victims of crime, or if they killed a person, or the next of kin in these upcoming hearings. Think about that. Whether they speak or not, they deserve to have a right to hear what is going on, because not only affects their security, it affects the memory of those who may have lost their lives due to the actions of that person. So the LA District Attorney goes on. What Gascon wants to do is he wants to make it so that not only the next of kin are unaware of these hearings, but he wants to make sure that prosecutors and DA offices don't hear about them either. When that happens, that means that Gascon and his public defender cronies can, in essence, do what they're doing in the dark and no one will ever know. Now, does this guy know that he's staring at the end of his career, and is he expediting these type of decisions, or is he doubling and tripling down as an
It appears he's doubling and tripling down. With the amount of workload they have, with the reduction in the amount of prosecutors they have, if you're not notifying next of kin and then you're not notifying actual prosecutors, you may have parole hearings where there is no government side of the argument that says, here's why this person should not be paroled. Yeah. As a result, more and more people get let out.
I'll give you an example.
Contest.
I'll give you an example. A girl that I went to camp with when I was growing up, we stayed in touch, and her mother was being stalked by this guy, and he would break into her house. He would wear her underwear. They found out later that, and he would steal her makeup, and they found him later, and his driver's license had her address on it, so he was claiming to be her. And he was stalking her so much that they put him away. They put him in some sort of a facility, a center. They were supposed to notify her when he was getting out. They sent her a letter. She received the letter too late. She received the letter the next day. The guy gets out. He goes into her house, breaks in. She comes home from a party, and she's in the house by herself. She doesn't come to school the next day. She was a school teacher. He had murdered her in her bathtub. And they found him later stalking around her house, later, like the next day, and he had his driver's license on it, and it had her name with his picture and her address. So this is a perfect example, and the letter arrived the next day in the state. This is a state where they did have to notify her. So this is the kind of example of what could happen.
Oof, absolutely.
It ended up being a Dateline special or 60, I don't know. It was on Dateline, I believe.
Totally preventable, obviously, and just tragic.